On July 12th, U.S. Central Command, CENTCOM as it's known, executed the first ever combat strike using unmanned surface vessels. 3 Saronic-built Corsair uncrewed surface vessels were deployed to strike a submarine and ship maintenance facility at Iran's Bandar Abbas naval base. The strike was part of a broader campaign to degrade Iran's ability to threaten commercial shipping in the Strait of Hormuz. As everybody is probably following, this is a period of escalating tensions after the collapse of the ceasefire between the U.S. and Iran. Now, the Corsair, just so folks know, it's a 24-foot autonomous vessel capable of 35 knot speeds. It's pretty fast. 1,000 nautical mile range, which is pretty far, and 1,000-pound payload, which is a lot. Its modular architecture allows for rapid reconfiguration between intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance roles, but also, as used here, kinetic strike roles. And so a little bit more about Saronic. They just announced that they're building this huge shipyard in Austin, Texas. Congratulations to them. Congratulations to Austin. That's going to bring a lot of jobs. And it's also currently fulfilling a nearly $400 million production contract awarded by the Navy in December of 2025. And this use of their Corsair vehicle marks a very defining transition from prototype testing to scaled, doctrine-driven procurement and use. And so this is, I think, a really big deal.
Do you think this is a sign of things to come? Because we saw the Department of War Budget Secretary Hegseth made public and put out there, and if you look at the DepSec that answers Secretary Hegseth, they are putting very pro-military statements out, but at the same time, they're putting out very pro-automation statements. Where, and sitting here as a civilian, reading the statements from the Department of War and some statements from the White House, it seems that this administration and this Department of War are fully engaged in ramping up all sorts of automation for all sorts of combat activity.
Yes, I think there is a doctrinal shift in warfare generally, but also naval warfare in particular, right? You're seeing this transition from experimental surveillance and rescue roles. You might remember just a few weeks prior to this, it was a Saronic vessel that were rescued 2 downed folks from a helicopter in the Strait as well. Right now, we're seeing this used in kind of an offensive kinetic strike. And so I think what we're seeing is, from the U.S. perspective, and look, there are many parallels that we've already talked about when it comes to Ukraine, right, and what Ukraine is doing. But from a U.S. perspective, we're seeing autonomous swarms and autonomous vessels of all kind as a core component of multi-domain power projection going forward. And I think this is going to fundamentally alter also the cost exchange calculus of maritime conflict, because I think what all powers are trying to balance is, if you have an autonomous drone or vessel that is much cheaper to produce than these large, human-driven, operated, capable of mass destruction vehicles and weapons, right? From a battleship to a fighter jet. If those types of things can be taken down or made more difficult to operate due to a vehicle, an autonomous vehicle or weapon that is much more cheaply produced, you run into issues about how much you're willing to spend, how do you defend against that, what is your cost calculus? And I think it is only natural, given what we've seen in Ukraine and now what we're seeing as a continuing shift over to autonomous technology in military warfare, that the cost calculus is self-evident, that you can achieve tremendous strategic effects at a fraction of the traditional crewed cost from where we were just a decade ago.
The autonomy economy is real. Commercial robo-taxi operations, Humanless freight runs. AV infrastructure investment measured in billions. The question is no longer whether autonomous mobility scales. It's who advises the companies building it. KPMG works across the full autonomy ecosystem: operators, OEMs, suppliers, insurers, and investors. At the moment it matters most. When the road ahead is uncertain, we've already been there. KPMG, accelerating what's next in mobility.